Okay, today we're going to talk about Choliambics. The chol part of Choliambics comes from the Greek cholos, which means lame or limping. So Choliambics are limping iambics. They're also called sometimes scazons, and they are a meter that's associated with poetry of abuse. And so we're going to use as our example today Catullus 39. But before we get going, let's review some of the stuff that you probably already know about meter. So we can do dactyls. A dactylic foot is long, short, short. And we can do spondees. A spondaic foot is long, long. And in the dactylic hexameter that we've been doing so far, we've been seeing that because two shorts take about the same amount of time to say as one long, we've been subbing in spondees for dactyls, right? So a line of dactylic hexameter is 6 dactyls or spondees. And in fact, in Latin, dactylic hexameter has generally more spondees than dactyls, just because long syllables are the preponderance of syllables in Latin. All right, so today, though, we're going to work with iambs. And an iambic foot is short, long. An iambic metron, though, an iambic metron is 2 iambic feet, short, long, short, long. But that first syllable can actually be either long or short. We'd say that first syllable there is ancaps, and we could mark it with an X. Okay, so either long or short. So an iambic foot is short, long. An iambic metron, though, is, just do it here, ancaps long, short, long. That is to say either short, long, or long, long, short, long. Okay? Those are iambic metra. All right, so iambic trimeter has 3 iambic metra. So 1, 2, 3. Okay. And this last syllable, and we've seen this already in doing dactylic hexameter, that last syllable can actually also be either short or long, but it always counts as long. And that's because the end of the line kind of gives us a little rest. So if you have a short syllable there, we're still going to scan it long, and we're going to call that, we're going to call that, this thing's fighting me, call that brevis in longo. When you have a short syllable in the place where you'd expect a long one. Okay? It's a slightly different thing than ancaps because it always counts as long, whether it's short or long. So that's iambic trimeter, 3 iambic metra. Aristotle says in his Poetics that it's the Greek meter that sounds the most like speech. And that's why a lot of the speaking in Greek tragedies gets done in iambic trimeter. So choliambic meter looks just like iambic trimeter until you get to the, end there. Okay? Where instead of an iamb, like you have in iambic trimeter, you have a trochee, which is to say long, short, except remember, because that last syllable is at the end of the line, that last beat always counts as long. Okay? So that's why they're called limping iambics. So let's scan some. We'll use Catullus 39 here. All right, and you'll note that I haven't marked the naturally long vowels here, but we'll talk about them as we go through. So this first syllable here counts as long. The E is short, I believe, but it's followed by two consonants. So we'll use the G to close that syllable, the N to open the next syllable. So that's long. Then short. No, sorry. I'm stupid. All right, so this E is short by nature, but it's followed by two consonants. So that's a long syllable. We'll use the G to close the first syllable, the N to open the next one. This A here is long by nature. Then that syllable's short. That syllable's long. The U there is short by nature, but it's followed by these two consonants. So that's our first metron. Here's our second metron. The O here is short by nature, but again, it's followed by these two consonants. So that's a long syllable. Long, short, long. That O there is long by nature because it's masculine accusative plural, second declension. Then short, then long. Again, this E is short by nature, but it's followed by these two consonants. Long, and then long. And remember, the last syllable will always count as long. This E is, in fact, long by nature. It's accusative plural, third declension. And now the next line, which is a little more complicated. Short, long by nature. Short, long because of the S and the Q. Short, long by nature. Short. Now, here we have elision. That is to say, one vowel, this long I, followed by another vowel, this short A. This first one just goes away. And then this one counts as long because of the D and the R. Now this is a little tricky, okay? Let's see. We have one foot here, or one metron here, one metron here. And then we have to think a little bit about how we're going to treat this EI. Right? Is that one syllable or two? So I am going to cheat a little bit. And I'm going to go to the end. Okay? And the end is a little tricky too. This syllable here is certainly long. Here what happens is, right? Remember, final M's don't really count. They're very softly pronounced. So that final M is not going to protect that U from that E. And because this is the word est, we're going to have aphyresis or protolision, same thing. Here, notice how here, where we had these two vowels, normally what happens with elision is the first vowel goes away. But when you have the second person singular S, you are, and the third person singular est, he, she, or it is, instead of losing that first vowel, you lose the E, and that's aphyresis or protolision. So this is a very complex example, huh? What's happening here is that's going to go away. So it's going to be wentumst or wentust. Okay? Wentust or wentumst. Okay? So now we need to get two syllables out of that word there. Now we see what's going on. And it's going to be short and then long, because that's the genitive singular ending from reus, defendant. So let's read these couple of lines. The first one easy, the second one a little more complicated. Egnatius quod candidos habet dentes renidet usque quaque sad rei ventumst. Okay, let's do two more lines. All right, sub. Okay, that's long because it's a closed syllable, right? B, then S. Cell, again, a closed syllable because of the two L's. Short, long, the M and the C. Okay. Again, we have a final M here. So vowel, M, and another vowel. Okay, so we're going to have elision. So this is going to go away. That syllable goes away. So, ora, tor, x, kietat, fle, long by nature, because it's the end of the line, long. Okay, so subselium, cora, tor, x, kietat, fletum. Okay, so that's an example of 3 lines of Choliambics. Now, I didn't put the rest of this line here, but reni det ille, okay, because that's where the sentence ends. And then if we go to the next page, we had reni det ille. All right, what's going to happen here? I'll give you a second to think. All right, so that goes away. Then you have odd PE. So the D and the P, 2 consonants, that's long. Short, long. Okay. And then this O is, I think, short, long, long by nature, long, because it's genitive singular. Did we get our 3 metra there? Short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, long, long. Okay. Reni det ille sad pi rogum fili. So you get the idea. Try and scan the rest of the poem yourself.